Before we begin, the name is placed on the top right side of the screen. The story opens with someone saying they cannot accept the divorce. A man tells his lady that if she was going to play around with him, then she should have left a long time ago. The blue-haired girl says divorce in a questioning manner. The guy then mentions how he knows she has feelings for another man. This causes our female lead to get emotional. She wonders if he really expects her to believe that, especially since she had only had eyes for him since childhood. He rests his head upon her shoulders and tells Safina that she should not have saved him that day. Our female lead looks somber as she wonders how it all came to this. The pages of a book fly in the wind as our female lead mentions how she came to realize the world she lived in was just a novel at the age of 10. She had been sent on an errand to the forest by her sister. Her feet set on the ground as we see a roughed-up white creature. She mentions how it was here in this forest that she found a big injured cat. Our female lead mentions how at this point she was still not able to transform into a human yet, but that cat was bleeding so much. She chirps and prances around as she notes how scared she is. We then see her walk back carrying an assortment of herbs and leaves. She had felt a strong urge to help this cat. We see her slowly place some leaves atop the cat's wounds. A close-up of the treatment is then provided. After finishing, she accidentally falls asleep atop the soft white fur. Time passes as we see her still asleep with a leaf blanket atop of her. As she lays in this dreamy state, she wonders what that pleasant smell is. Her eyes then open widely, and she now wonders where that cat went. She wonders if it recovered and just left like that. This causes her to get frustrated since it didn't even bother to repay back her kindness. She grabs at her head as right then, all the memories from her previous life started pouring into her brain. She mentions how the only thing she could discern was that she was an avid reader of romance novels in her past life, and that she ended up reincarnating in a novel that she enjoyed reading very much so. She lays back near a tree and continues to contemplate. She thinks about how she was reborn into a novel and possessed a blue bird character. She also seems to have forgotten practically everything else about her past life. She does, however, still have quite a concrete memory about the book that she got reincarnated into. It was an adult-rated romance novel that was filled with decadent characters. Out of all the characters there are, she happened to reincarnate as the main villainess named Safina. This is a loner blue bird that was obsessed with the male lead from the lion family. She happened to always be a nuisance in the family. She had started out in a strategic marriage with the male lead. Yet this marriage would be full of unhappiness. The members of the lion family were expecting an eagle, the leader of all birds, to become the hostess. They refused to accept a mere bluebird like Safina as a leader. After being mistreated by all the other lions, Safina eventually finds some solace in the open arms of her then husband, the male lead that's named Richard Chadwick. Richard was the only person with enough power to help her. She did, however, end up mistaking her desire to live as love. She ended up causing all sorts of trouble in an attempt to win over Richard's affection. However, all this only made him suffer. When the male lead went to battle, he ended up returning with the heiress from a hostile faction as a prisoner. The male lead that now was in contact with the true female lead, a deer, ended up falling flat out in love with her. Just watching had made Safina insanely jealous of this. This ultimately led her to commit more and more terrible acts. She was ultimately, in the end, rejected by the male lead and taken out by stones that were thrown by the entire lion clan, who completely despised her. She was a character that would meet her demise by the end of the story. Our bird, now saddened, notes how this is what her life will come to. As she lies, she notes how right at this moment, she's still just a bluebird that can't transform into a human yet. Even if she was able to recall the story, she currently is not in the position to leave and run off somewhere else. She decides to just wait for a chance and make her escape someday. Time would pass, and it's now winter 3 years in the future. Our female lead is shivering as she wonders if her big sister gave her too hard of a task. At this point, she's now able to transform into a human and has been given bigger tasks by her sister. Right now she must find strawberries in the middle of winter. Safina had been born as the only bluebird in a clan of eagles. A troublemaker that was born into the Great Eagle clan that represents the avian alliance that rules the western continent. She had no clue why a blue bird hatched along with eagles, but many of the bad eagles refused to accept her as family. A man had told her he was going to keep her alive until she became useful someday. This was the head of the family who barely allowed her to live. This is why her brothers and sisters bother her every day. We see that she did not come with shoes and mentions how cold it is. She thinks about how her big sister is one of the leaders of the clan and definitely knows that strawberries don't get ripe during the winter. This is probably an excuse to mistreat her. If she were to return now empty-handed, they'd likely put her in the attic. It is then that we see her blue bird form again. She carries the basket with her beak as she starts to fly. She decides to deal with them after she gets some rest in the room. After she flies into the window, she wonders why it's so quiet right now. We then hear her squeak. A girl yells at her to stop chattering and to go away. Safina continues to chirp. The other girl then tells Safina to not talk to her like that and flicks her away. Safina holds her head and says ouch as the other girl says Safina choose the right time to return. She grabs at a basket and then tells Safina to follow her quietly or else. The girl then says that the king of beasts, a lion, has infiltrated their house. Safina blushes as she thinks about how this is a lion. She recalls back to how the lion from the original story was the person Safina had a strategic marriage with. As Safina follows the girl, she notes how this is likely the start of the novel, and how the atmosphere in the family has been quite tense lately. The eagles had recently offended the lions, so there has been a deterioration in relations between both the clans. Yet despite this, attacking the eagle territory, which is the size of a small kingdom, is quite surprising. Safina then wonders why they aren't escaping then, and how the roars of the lion are getting much clearer. Her sister stops and wonders how strange this is, and asks why the secret passage isn't showing up. This shocks Safina, who notes her sister is going the opposite direction and wonders who made this girl the leader. Safina then notes how they're doomed. She does not wish to die before getting a chance to escape that bad ending. It is then that a lion appears with a ring of fire around it. Its eyes glare ahead. It then stomps the ground, which causes it to crack. As it walks towards the sisters, Safina wonders if it's already too late. It's all over if that bites her. It is then that her sister then grabs her leg. Her sister yells at the beast and she pulls Safina back. She then hurls the bird and tells Safina to go first. Safina notes how her sister is using her as bait to save herself. She thinks about how this is the end and how miserable this life was. Her eyes stay closed as she awaits her fate. When they finally open, she sees herself sitting perched atop the beast's nose. Her jaw drops as she wonders what this is. She yells in chirp sounds that translates to, "I must be crazy." Our female lead nervously sits atop the beast's nose. It is then that the lion sneezes, which sends our female lead flying. She lands on the floor with a thud, before then sitting up and holding her left eye. She then noticed something. There is a symbol that sits atop the lion's head. It appears to be like a crown, which is only supposed to appear upon the leader. This must mean he's the head of the lion family. She then does some quick math to decipher the situation. The head of the family in the novel was the mother of the male lead, and Safina herself was the daughter-in-law to the lion's family. So in totality, this lion right here is going to be her future mother-in-law. Known as Con Chadwick, that is the name of the lion that is the head of this generation. In the original novel, she was said to have the greatest strength and abilities out of all the lions. Our female lead covers her mouth in awe as she yells that she is a prisoner that can do anything. She raises both her wings up in fear as she yells she surrenders twice. It is then that the lion puts its nose right up next to the blue bird. Safina notes that she is so scared as the lion now starts to lick her. The beast then thinks about how this is a blue bird. Our female lead can hear this voice in her head. This is the voice of Con Chadwick. It is said that high-ranking beastmen are able to convey their thoughts to others around them. Our female lead then starts to blush as she notes how, as expected, her mother is so amazing. She recalls how if they're cool, then they are her older sister. If they're cute, then they are her younger sister. And if they are strong, then they're her mother. The lion then makes eye contact with our female lead. Our female lead looks down at the ground as she wonders if she had been staring too openly. The lion then thinks about how this was refreshing and how the reaction was instant. Our female lead seems to have misheard the word fresh and wonders if that means Khan finds her appetizing right now like a live fish. This causes our female lead's soul to exit her body, and she faints. As she continues to lay, Khan looks down at her confused. It is then that our female lead springs back up off the ground and decides to act cute. Khan misreads and wonders if the bird is asking to fight or something. Our female lead then moves her wings around and tries to signal that she does not wish to fight mother. Something then seems to have caught the eye of Khan as she notes that pattern on the bird. Our female lead seems to get embarrassed and covers herself as she wonders if something is wrong with her body, especially since she takes good care of it. Khan then picks up our female lead and moves out. She walks down the hall and runs into another group of lions. Our female lead starts to tear up as she is held up. She is in fear and wonders where in the world she is being taken. Time passes as she then notes how she is now at her father's office. The door is then slammed open as we see father sitting on the ground in fear. Two lions then walk in with Safina still being held. Our female lead covers her eyes as she notes her father is restrained and that she doesn't want to see anything cruel. Khan then tells a nearby lion to take this bird and go play in the garden. She is then gently placed atop the head of the other lion. Safina notes how no matter how they look at it, it's obvious that Khan wants to discuss this alone with her father. She is sure that her father is more than willing to sell her out. She curls her wings up into a fist and thinks about how she's going to get married. It's hard to escape from the original story now. It is said that beasts each have a unique ability depending on what species they are. The eagles have a specialty in the ability to track. Even just by looking at a single feather, they'd be able to track their target's whereabouts. Despite knowing about this ability, she still hated this family so much that she attempted to run away many times. Just last month, she ran away while pretending to do errands but was caught and scolded. As she laid, she wondered why they keep chasing a young one like her and how hungry she is. Additionally, there was some sort of prophecy that she doesn't know about that said the blue bird is considered a bad omen among birds. Even if she were to escape from here, there really is nowhere to go since no place would accept her. Since there is no place that welcomes blue birds, then it might be better to just become the male lead's wife like in the original novel. She can at least get away from the eagles who harass her, and she already knows the future as well. About how she meets her end. The only reason this happened was because she became obsessed with the male lead. In this life, she decides to avoid getting obsessed. She will live in shame and eventually divorce him cleanly to become independent. She continues to think about how she'll be a free-ranging beast. Who cares about being evil or jealous? She'll just choose to sleep more then. Once she becomes an adult and is independent, she will be able to finally live comfortably from then on. She raises her wings up in excitement, noting how she'll live well. We later see the father saying he apologizes for the rude remarks he had made during the last time they met. He did not know it was her then, and he then asks if he can make a suggestion. As Khan lounges on the couch, she mentions how annoying this is. The father then bows down, saying that if Khan lets him live, then he will send her tribute every year from now on. And also, he will give her gold and jade as well as the daughter that he has raised with great care. In his mind, he thinks about how there's no way he can give up his precious biological daughter. He'll just take this chance to give away Safina, who's been a nuisance anyways. Khan rips the couch apart slowly, as she then asks if the father is trying to form a marriage alliance. The father says that the eagle family represents the bird alliance, and if the lions ally with them, they can open the Lemon Canal to the land blessed by God. And he will ask the others in the alliance to pay tribute every year as well. Khan says that is not a bad offer, and that their original purpose was to study lemon. Khan then mentions the blue bird as the father says yes. Khan says that will be her son's bride, just like the father mentioned. She recalls how she had felt a familiar energy from the patterns on the blue bird's wings. This was the energy of her first son. The pattern that was on the blue bird's wings was like a second heart. This only happens if some kind of contract was made with Thanato. Khan does not know how they know each other, but if she is going to form a marriage alliance, then it would be best to choose the one that has some kind of connection to her son. And also there is another thing. The blue bird that was spoken about in the prophecy. If that child is the blue bird, then Khan will need to keep her close and watch over her. The father wonders where in the world the lion's leader met up with Safina. On the outside he laughs and tells Khan yes, and that he will do as she said. Khan then tells him that the tribute will be 10 million kalia per year, which makes the father nervously say that's the family budget for 5 years though. Khan asks if he's saying he doesn't like it, to which the father says no, and that he will try his best and will give as much as she wants. Khan asks if that is so, before then giving him a death stare which causes the father to sweat nervously in fear. Khan asks why the father kept looking at her and what is he hiding. We later see him lying in the ground passed out as Khan leaves the room. She notes how even after all that he still did not say a word. She notes how she'll still slowly need to find out what he's hiding. As she walks through the corridor, we see her take a human form. A coat then appears after the next corridor. She starts to laugh as she wonders if the blue bird is having fun. She steps outside into the garden as we see the other lion and Safina still there. Our female lead seems to be moving her wings around. She seems to be doing some sort of dance before then laying on the lion's body. She notes how hard it is to play along with a lion. The lion then stands up as she falls face first into the ground. Someone then says hello as she lies. She then moves her head up as she looks above the shadow. The blonde person in front of her then calls Safina daughter-in-law. Our female lead lays with her face down, before then looking up to see what is casting the shadow. Khan stands above her in human form and says my dear. Safina wonders what if this person really just called her my dear. As she continues to look up, she then notes that this must mean, having that dazzling golden hair and those golden bright eyes, this is the Khan Chadwick that she had run into earlier. She's also now in her human form and looking very cool. Safina then tweets and says it's nice to meet Mom. She notes how she must look really good to Mom so that she can live a comfortable life from now on. Khan looks at our female lead and wonders if the bird is saying it wants Khan to make an introduction. She then grabs the bird's wing with 2 fingers and introduces herself as Khan Chadwick, the lion family's leader. Khan then puts her palm forward to hold up Safina and says that from this day forward, Khan will now be her mother-in-law. Our female lead then pretends to act shocked as she does not want to raise suspicions from what she knows. Khan continues to say that the lions and eagles have formed a marriage alliance and asks if Safina understands. Safina makes a tweet sound and salutes with her wing. Khan mentions how this is the most unique bird she has ever seen. Safina wonders if she should be scared of marrying into a family of beasts, but does note that so far she doesn't hate the look of it. Khan then tells the other lion that they will be returning to the mainland tomorrow morning. He places the bird atop this lion's head again and tells it to take good care of the bird. Our female lead thinks about how they will be leaving for the lion's mansion tomorrow morning, and how she needs to hurry and grab all the money and jewelry that she had been stashing all around this house. This is her emergency fund, so she doesn't want anyone to find out. She then wonders how she'll be able to hide it from this lion right here. The lion then lets out a yawn as she notes how it is sleepy. She then starts to rub its fur and tries to help it go to sleep quickly. After a while, she stands about and notes how he finally fell asleep. She then starts to fly off and notes how she needs to quickly get it while there's a chance. She then uses the force to levitate her stash of money and mentions how she awakened this ability last winter. She also notes how it was a great idea to practice this since abilities get stronger the more you use them. She recalls how the eagles have the tracking ability, but that she has telekinesis. She holds her stash and notes how hard it was to not get caught. She thinks about how had she been caught, her brothers and sister would have devoured her. The door then suddenly opens as a light shines on her. It is all her brothers and sisters that she thought ran away. The sister from before mentions how Safina got thrown to lions and managed to survive. The sister mentions how father got turned into a punching bag and had to sign an absurd contract with the lion. The sister then asks what Safina is doing in this dingy room. She yells asking if Safina knows the situation and how she's going to be a bride, but will probably get eaten by the lions. Our female lead, still hiding the stash behind her, notes how her sister is speaking so much and must have something up her sleeve. A brother then comes closer and says that Safina should take care of this. It's said that this may look like a necklace, but it's actually a bomb. She notes how she has seen this from the original work. It was the necklace the original Safina carried. This was the necklace that Safina would give the female lead who was a deer as a gift. The heroine would suffer badly due to this, and all the blame got put on Safina. This necklace incident would lead to the male lead completely abandoning her. She now realizes that it was her brothers and sisters that would give her this item. He tells her to think of it as filial piety and that he is giving it to her on her wedding day. It's to repay her for all the favors she's given him. Our female lead, who now looks stuffed, wonders what did this guy just say and if he has a bad conscience or something. She thinks about how after 13 years together they decided to give her this stupid necklace in the end. She did not expect anything from them, but now feels both disappointed and angry. She wonders if the original Safina also felt this way and if that's why she kept the necklace rather than exploding it. Safina then flies up in the air and mocks them. She tweets about how the eagles should get their heads ripped off. This angers the brother and he starts to move. However, the youngest sister then says they have to go now. She mentions how they barely managed to get out together and that if they delay anymore the lions will get suspicious. The older sister agrees and then mentions how Safina will just be a toy for the lions anyways. If they touch her now then things will only get more complicated. This all causes the annoying brother to take deep breaths. The older sister tells the brother to choose wisely and to not do anything unnecessary. He mentions how it would be a shame to just leave now. His hand then reaches for Safina. He places her near a bell. He tells her to not dare talk back and that she's just a blue bird, so what can she do? He tells her to think about that while she's being punished and then leaves. Our female lead lets out a sigh and wonders if he's serious. She wonders who would even be afraid and notes how she has to use her ability for such a trivial matter. The rope then starts to glow with blue light. She thinks about how he ain't know about all this as she frees herself with her powers. As she thinks about the ability, she then has an idea. She notes how she'll be leaving tomorrow morning forever, so before she leaves, she ought to get revenge in style. She also might as well take care of this necklace too. We later see someone asking where the blue bird went. Khan stands over a very sleepy and confused lion. Khan mentions how this lion is sleeping on enemy territory and must have lost military bearing. The lion looks down in somber after being scolded. Khan then says that he will go look for the bird and that the lion should reflect on his actions. She then wonders where the little blue bird went. In her mind, she recalls how cute Safina was. Khan notes how she could not have gone far. She thinks about how finding one blue bird can't be that difficult and it should be easier than eating porridge. She then stops at a door and wonders if this is the attic. Khan then grabs the handle before the door then completely breaks apart. Khan mentions how weak that door was. Safina wonders if Khan is here to find her as she holds onto a pouch. Khan asks if she is all alone and if her brother all abandoned her. Safina tweets asking if Khan means brothers and sisters. She then curls her wings into a fist and notes how this is the chance to reveal to Mom what her brothers and sisters have done. Safina thinks about how she cannot tell Mom directly since she is in bird form, but that she can use body language. She then starts to move about trying to tell her mother that the necklace is dangerous. Khan looks so confused as she watches the bird prance around. Safina is then done and proudly spreads her wings. Khan then claps and tells our female lead that she's more flexible than she thought and that dance was great. This causes our female lead to shed comedic tears and note how this wasn't meant to be a circus. She then does a front roll for Khan, and then an even better back roll. Khan mentions how she cannot believe that the bird knows how to do a side spin. 1 hour has passed. Khan then says to sum it all up, the necklace right there is a bomb, and that the eagles are forcing Safina to hold it. Safina, who has been trying to send this message for an hour now, is exhausted and tweets that is correct. Khan then offers Safina her hand and then asks why is she talking about all this while in animal form then. Safina grabs at Khan's clothes as she mentions how she does not have anything to wear. As Safina holds her pouch, Khan says that she'll have to get a new one then. Khan then tells Safina to follow her since she found a nice dressing room earlier while searching for her. We see Khan walking as Safina holds onto the pouch as she flies. Khan then opens the door as Safina watches in awe while on the mom's shoulder. She lets out a bird cry at the sight in front of her. She holds her cheeks and blushes as she did not realize there was a dress room like this in the house. She notes how up until now she had been confined in a small room and only picked up clothes her sister threw away. She did not know there were this many pretty dresses in the house. As she looks in the mirror, she notes how glad she is that the clothes fit her and wonders if the family kept all this high-quality clothes without throwing them away. Khan sits at the couch as Safina slowly asks if Khan likes it. Khan is left speechless for a moment. She then asks for the young blue bird's name. To this, our female lead tells Khan that her name is Safina. Khan mentions how the girl is both small and skinny. She tells Safina that she needs to gain weight. Safina laughs nervously as she internally notes how it sounds like Khan wants to fatten her up to eat. Khan then asks what Safina's favorite food is. Our female lead looks away due to how scary those eyes are. She then says that she likes fruits from trees and that she hates bugs. Khan then says the word meat, which leaves Safina confused. Khan says that veal is both tender and delicious and that Safina should try to eat it from now on. This leaves our female lead so confused since she's literally a blue bird. She then recalls how beastmen and animals are two different creatures, and that she actually can eat anything when she's human. She then notes how she can't deny this or vomit since she has to look good in front of mother. She yells yep to mom. Khan then mentions how clothes are now sorted out and that she needs to get going now. Safina then nervously starts to speak. She calls out yelling mother to Khan. This causes Khan to look back and say mother in confusion. Safina again calls her mother and talks about the necklace from earlier. She asks if Khan could possibly give it to her. Khan is confused and asks Safina why. Our female lead says that for her older brothers and sisters, she has to do something to pay them back, and asks Khan if she can use it. She promises mother that she will never do any harm. To this, Khan says Safina can do as she pleases. Khan clears her throat and then calls Safina daughter-in-law. This causes our female lead's eyes to widen, and she then smiles and says thank you very much. Khan then says they should relax tonight to be ready for tomorrow's departure. We later see Safina lying in bed. She thinks about how she gets to stay in such a nice guest room. She then recalls how her family all got detained in their own rooms. This causes her to laugh since they deserve it. She then grabs at the necklace that they had given her previously. She then says those bird heads better be prepared as she holds the necklace up high. The mansion sits still as a full moon looms overhead. We later see Safina walking as someone stands guard at a door. She says excuse me to the guard. She mentions how she did not get dinner earlier and asks if she can go in to find something to eat. The girl stands in silence. After getting inside, Safina notes how that was easier than she thought and wonders if it's because they know she is the daughter-in-law to the lion family now. She notes how her brothers and sisters don't even cook, yet they go in and out the kitchen like that. She recalls how after realizing this was a novel, she struggled to get out of the flow from the original work. At this point, she has been able to find out that there's a secret safe hidden in this kitchen cellar. She then lifts the barrel out of the way with her powers. She thinks about how the results of all her hard work are finally showing. She starts to recall what was in that vault. She then mentions how this is the entrance to the cellar. Inside of here are documents that have threatened and extorted small animal prisoners. As she starts to get into the cellar, someone asks what she is doing here. This turns out to be Khan. This causes Safina to be shocked. She looks back up at Khan nervously and then says good work. Khan mentions how since this is a good thing, then she will not interfere and that Safina can go ahead. The lioness has a smirk on her face as Safina says okay. We later see Khan ask if this is safe. Safina notes how she has to use her telekinesis here. She thinks about how she had to keep this a secret from the eagles, but that showing it to Mother should be fine. She still is a bit unsure, but her hands start to activate the ability. Something above then starts to shake due to her power. The safe then opens as we see a big stack of documents. Khan looks in awe as she wonders if this was what the Eagle Guardian has been hiding. As Safina holds the papers, Khan asks what the girl plans to do with this. Safina is now the one with a smile on her face. She tells Khan that she's going to give the eagles a very hard time. It is the next morning as we see all the brothers and sisters next to the father who sits covered in bandages. They all look ahead at Khan who stands near our female lead. The father nervously tells Khan to be careful and to be safe on their way back. Safina notes how there wasn't even a farewell said to her and that it's not like she expected anything. Khan looks at the poor girl and tells her they should head out now. She then grabs our female lead's shoulder as we see the necklace on her neck. Her brother has a smirk as he notes how as expected she is wearing the necklace. A paper airplane then starts to fly overhead. It gets a headshot at the side of the sister's head. She wonders why there suddenly is a paper airplane floating around as she grabs it. After she opens it up to read, she wonders what this is. She then nervously calls her father. He tells him it's the documents he hid as more airplanes continue to fly around. The whole family looks up in horror. Safina smiles as she notes how this is just the beginning and how they're in for an even bigger surprise. She then uses her telekinesis and makes the necklace float up in the air. It rises higher and higher right up next to the paper airplanes. A sister yells wait as the necklace then goes off and takes out all the papers. The family looks in horror as the land documents are all. A piece of burnt paper then lands in their hand. The father with his bandages says this cannot be and yells about his land. The brother gets on his knees and wonders how this could happen to the documents. He looks up and starts to yell at what's in front of him. We see Khan with her arms crossed. We also see Safina with her arms crossed and smiling. She continues to smile as she thinks about how standing next to Mother makes it look like she was following Mother's orders. Safina then takes a step forward and tells her brother directly that this was something she did. She then asks how is it, and if he likes it. He is stuttering as he tries to address her. It is then that Khan says they should go now, and Safina says yes Mother with a naughty smile on her face. Safina then sticks her tongue out as she yells it's perfect. We later see the carriage moving about through the forest. Our female lead lays back as she notes how tired she is now. She then turns into a bird as she thinks about how hard it can be to use her powers to the max like this. As she sits in bird form, Khan is right beside her. She then pats her girl on the head. This causes Safina to smile and blush before a large boom can then be heard. This startles the little bird as Khan then holds and comforts her. The fire can be seen from the window as Khan says good grief. As Safina looks out the window she notes how feisty her mother is. It seems like she needs to start adapting to the Lion Mansion real soon. A month would then pass as we now see a new building. Safina thinks about how it feels like she made that promise to stay well here yesterday. Time sure does fly. Whether it is fortunate or unfortunate, life with the lions has been quite peaceful. There are many fascinating things here, so there has yet to be a dull moment. She recalls back to seeing a ficus tree for the first time. Yet she did not know much about the lion family, so she had to study intensively to build a good foundation. The original book did not have this much detail. Through all this, she practiced her abilities whenever she got the chance, so each day went by quickly. She then holds her face as she wonders when the male lead is coming back. When she just got here, The male lead had already left home to resolve an issue with other supernatural beings. He had said he would soon have the wedding. Mother said she was going to handle it all and that Safina didn't need to worry, but if they end up becoming family, then she'd at least like to see his face before they do get married. In terms of family, Safina wonders how her father and siblings are doing. They had barely managed to flee the scene with their lives, the lions said. But at the same time they lost everything from their home, property, status. Safina wonders if they're gonna come after her for all this. She thinks about how troublesome it'd be if they came for revenge after destroying the land documents. But she is currently living under the famous lions, so there's no need to worry. The mansion burning down was not an event from the original work, so it might be a good sign for her. Avoiding that tragic fate is her end goal. For now, she will just let the male lead roam freely. In the future, she will help manage territory to earn recognition from the lions. And at the right time, she will get a divorce without being accused of doing anything wrong. We then see a maid say that Master is calling for Safina. Our female lead thanks the maid for letting her know. As the maid continues to stare, our female lead notes how it's clear one of the lion maids does not like her. If a lion were to show loyalty to a blue bird from the start, then that'd be even weirder. As she makes progress, she's sure things will get better. At least Mother still likes her. She walks in a room yelling Mother as Khan tells the dear bird to have a seat. Safina wonders what kind of relationship they had in the original work. As far as she could recall, she didn't remember the original Safina even having a relationship with Khan. Our female lead thanks Khan for the tea. She notes how she likes Mother. She may seem gruff, but is secretly very affectionate. Khan then drops a bombshell and says the wedding is scheduled for the day after tomorrow. This leaves our female lead stunned as she holds her cup of tea. She has yet to even see his face, so what's Mother talking about all of the sudden? Safina is stunned as Khan states that apparently the groom-to-be will return tomorrow. Safina feels nervous as she expresses that it is sooner than she had expected. She thinks about her future husband, the male lead of the original story, and her future husband. The maids outside are gossiping about her as one states that others will see them as a caretaker of small animals. Questioning, do not the other maids see how she was trying to pick a fight with them earlier? She states that if she lets it be, then Safina will surely act all high and mighty. The other maid agrees as she mentions that she was practically trying to devour them, expressing that it was terrifying. All the maids continue to backbite about how she tried to act like a queen last time, acting all mighty. After a while, Safina is walking outside as she ponders that they are planning to ruin their first dance of the wedding. Thinking, what is their motive? She looks at the laundry basket and thinks if they even let the laundry basket here. She decides to use this as evidence when questioning the maids later. She picks up the laundry basket and realizes that it is heavier than she had thought. She takes shelter under a tree and expresses her exhaustion. She wishes the wind would bloom fiercely. She wonders if she should try using telekinesis to make the wind blow. She uses her power and understands that it's her first time using her powers to make the wind blow faster, wishing for all the hardships to blow away. Right then, someone is up on the tree as he notices her and realizes that he has never seen her before, causing him to wonder if she is his bride-to-be. He falls onto her and asks her why did she shake the tree like that. He tells her that she could have gotten hurt. The young master tells her that she could have gotten hurt. She notices it's a white lion as she tells him she's not sure who he is, but thanks him for his concern. He tells her that he should be the one worried as she seems confused. She points at himself and tells her that the person who always got hurt is him. She thinks about it as, she wonders, was not he worried about her? She then wonders if he is saying that because she uses telekinesis to shake the tree, and he almost fell down when she was making the wind blow faster. You're thinking if that means that she should be the one worried, and that she's the one who's at fault, causing her to flinch. She apologizes to him, and he tells her besides that she wonders that she already apologized and why does she keep staring at her. She feels a bit uneasy before she notices that her point is hurting, and that she has never felt this much. He continues to look at her as she seems angry. wondering what else does he want besides her apology, and why doesn't he just say anything. She asks him if he is okay. He tells her that he thinks his bone is broken. She wonders if he is a self-harm fraud as he faked falling down from the tree, and now even he is claiming to have a broken bone when they just bumped into each other. She thinks that he is a con artist. She wonders that she must have messed with some strange creature and she should not engage further with him. She tells him that she is really sorry for making him fall from the tree and wishes for him to please take care of his arm. She turns around to leave and tells him she'll be going as he stands there. He takes the bucket that she left behind. He wonders if he should ask her to take responsibility. As she arrives back, she wonders who was that strange boy just now. She thinks about his white hair and blue eyes, and that these distinctive features are only seen in the white lion. She is aware that she has heard there are many wild lions in this household, but it is her first time seeing one in person, and on top of that, he's her age. She wishes for him to not be that loyal as seeing him causing a star in the Chadwick family. She thinks that he's definitely not of noble birth. She continues to room in her room, wondering about his identity before she asks herself why is she so curious about him. She wonders if it is because he caught wind of her power, as it is her first time using this power to make the wind blow faster. She ponders that it seems like the commotion at the Eagle Manor went unnoticed, which made everyone complacent, and she does not want just anyone to know about her power. She wonders if she's feeling uneasy because her powers are exposed to someone unknown, or is there something else she feels like she has forgotten something. Safina ponders that even though she knows the original story, his full name was Hazy. She wasn't sure until she saw the name on the portrait. She finds that understandable. In the original story, the female lead Ilia Liam referred to the main lead as Master. The male lead of the original story could be considered the epitome of charm in this era. The master of mature content, and the emperor of decadent tales. She ponders that she still cannot believe she ended up playing the role of the villainess instead of the female lead, and she might just end up having a nervous breakdown. She is aware that she has to be careful. Khan asks her why is she trembling, questioning if she's hurt somewhere. She responds that it's not the case at all. She tells herself to control her expressions as she shouldn't do things that will make her dislike. Khan tells her that while the man who will be her husband may have some unpredictable aspects, but he's not trash. She smiles and mentions that she sees. She spits the tea as Khan asks her to kick him in the butt if he doesn't listen to her. She is stunned as she questions about it. Khan tells her to tell him that Safina has her permission if he asks about it. Safina wonders how dare she kick the main lead's butt. Khan halts as she asks the person to come in. The attendant informs her that the snake who was caught in the border area is causing commotion because he is hungry. Safina thinks about it as she wonders what is happening. Khan questions how dare he cause a commotion or something like that during her tea time. He tells the attendant that she will be there soon. Until then, he should handle it properly. The attendant tells her that he understands it and leaves. After some time has passed, Khan tells her that time flew by without her noticing, and since there are also people looking for her, she should be going now and that she will introduce her to her son properly later. Safina tells her that she understands. As she is walking outside, she hears the maids talking to each other as the maid asks the other if they heard the news that the young master is returning. They wonder if the bluebird really is going to be the hostess as they refer to Safina. Safina wonders if they are talking about her. One maid mentions that it honestly hurts her pride to have that bluebird pampered. The other also agrees, stating that a lion pairing with such a little animal does not even make sense. On top of that, she is not even small, but she also has a strange hair color, and that she is not even pretty. They wonder how disappointed the young master will be when he returns, mentioning that maybe he will leave again because he is sure he will hate the bluebird so much. She never expected them to dislike her that much. She knows that she's used to the servants disliking her. She clenches her fist as she ponders. Just because she's used to it does not mean that she should let it slide. She goes to them as she questions if they are talking about her. The maids flinches as they ask her if she heard everything. She questions if they think that she is a deaf. She is aware that she must not look weak in front of them. She tells them that she does not care if they all dislike her, but she questions if they could. Please refrain from such comments. She ponders that if she lets them push her around, they will see her as an easy target. The maid apologizes as she finds it surprising that they are so quick to apologize. She wonders if this is the influence of her mother, but it feels unjust to just brush it off with a simple apology. She asks them if they could clean the clothes that she bought last time. She's aware she should keep them busy with lots of work so they won't have time to gossip at all. The maid tells her that she understands as she ponders she will not give up. She thinks that after all, the mother has acknowledged her as the future daughter-in-law. She is outside as she sighs and ponders that she pretended to be strong in front of the maids earlier, but it is still tough. She never expected a warm welcome from them, but she still finds it really disheartening to directly face the fact that there are people here who dislike her. She assures her stuff that it is okay because it is still good that she has a good relationship with the mother, and she only trusts her. She decides to just take a walk around to change her mood. She notices the maid working really hard before they question if they should really do that. The other mention, of course they should, as she tries to listen to their conversation. One maid states that if they ruin her first dance at the wedding, Khan will lose interest in that blue bird. Then they won't have to cater to that bluebird anymore. So they should not worry because they will not get caught. The other one finds it a bit risky and cruel to do something like that. But she is told that she should snap out of it. She decides to not dwell on the person whom she does not know about, as it was inevitable that she got caught by him using her power. And what is important is that the conversation she overheard between the maids today. She knows that if they ruin her first dance in the wedding, then Khan will lose interest in her. She is aware that lions believe that if the waltz of the bride and groom is perfect, their married life will go smoothly. That is how important the first dance at the wedding is, and if anyone between the groom or bride makes a single mistake during their dance, that person will be labeled as unfortunate for not being able to waltz throughout their married life. She is aware that she does not want to be stoned by people like that in the original story, as this is causing her to worry a lot. She knows that the wedding must go smoothly. That is the only way to survive easily, and she must do her best to prevent the maids from interfering. The maids mention doing unlion-like things to ruin her dance, and if she knows beforehand what the maids are planning, she can handle it well. She decides to help them out a bit to ensure that the maids cannot do unlion-like things. She rings the bell as the maids come to her room. She asks them if they could please take care of her wedding dress until the day of the wedding. She also tells them that there's a bit of a hitch with the hem and asks them to fix it. But they all bow and tell her that they understand it. She wonders that the trap card has been activated. She has provided them such an easy path to execute their plan. Their likelihood of them choosing to ruin the wedding dress over difficult strategies is high and thinks that they are caught in the cage. Thanks to Mother's generous supply, she has plenty of square dresses, and since it is a simple wedding, the wedding dress is not extravagant either. She just needs to move the dresses and accessories she likes separately. Whether they patch up or trim the clothes, it does not matter if it is not noticeable. They just let go of difficult plans and get their hands on her wedding dress instead. All she has to do is change the damaged dress. She tells them that they may leave now. They tell her all right as she lays on her bed. She ponders that she's so sleepy and she has been under too much stress today. She knows that it is more effective to regain energy in animal form. She changes back to her bird form. She knows that there's about an hour left until dinner with Mother. She decides to take a quick nap. She is taking a nap. She thinks about the self-harm fraud she met today, thinking that he smelled similar to Mother. It was a familiar and comforting scent, like a peaceful night sky. Khan tells someone that he mentioned he'd come tomorrow, but he arrived earlier than expected. The young master tells her that the work finished earlier than planned. Khan questions, or perhaps he wanted to meet her bride sooner. It is the young master whom she met earlier. confounders that a sluggish boy who does not seem to care much about anything, even left the night behind and came here alone first. It seems like there's surely a connection between him and her future daughter-in-law. She tells him that he is still late. She knows that she was going to introduce him to her, as they both need to talk to each other before the wedding day. He tells his mother that he'll go and bring her. Khan tells him no, and states that she will go to call her here herself. She knocks on her door and thinks that she's sure she's in her room as she can sense her presence there. Khan then decides to step in the room. She notices that Safina is sleeping. She questions if she is feeling unwell before she is relieved to see her asleep. She tries to wake her up gently, but she changes her direction. Khan tells her that she should eat her meal, even just 1 spoon. Safina is very sleepy as she asks for 10 more minutes. Khan stands in silence for a while before she picks her up, telling her there is no other choice. She brings her out as the young master questions if it is a cotton ball. Khan tells her son that she must be very hungry, so she had to bring her out like this. He mentions that she is even smaller than he thought. She dozes off as he holds her. He looks at her for a while. She opens her eyes as she looks at him, wondering, when did she come to the restaurant? She looks at him and wonders, who is this beast? She then realizes that is not he the main lead whose portrait is hanging in the corridor. He asks her if she's asking him for an introduction. He introduces himself as Richard Chadwick. She realizes that he is indeed the male lead and thinks is not his voice like the self-harm fraud that she met during the day. This causes her to become shocked. She realizes he is the one who told her that his bone is broken because of her power and that she must take the responsibility for it. And by responsibility, he means covering the medical expenses. She then looks at the madam, wondering, was not the main lead coming tomorrow? So is he already here and trying to deceive her? Madam tells her that Richard arrived a bit early, so she rushed to meet up her meeting and questions if she is surprised. She responds that she is not at all surprised. She just thought that she met a strange servant who turns out her husband to be. She realizes that he is quite different from what she expected. Plus, her intention is to have a somewhat awkward relationship and then discovers him. But she wonders, did she leave too strong of a first impression? She thinks if she should try to act more reserved from now on. She continues to daydream as he asks her if she's sure that she is not interested in her husband-to-be. She looks at him as she blushes. She then wonders why is he using such a term. He asks her to give him her hand. She wonders if he takes her as a dog. She gives him her foot as she calls him a fraud. He does not avoid that as she wonders that she placed her foot on his hand. So why did he not avoid it? He questions if birds greet with their feet. It's an awkward moment before the madam laughs and tells her son that she thinks Safina does not like him. Safina ponders as expected of mother. She knows her well. There is no reason for her to be friendly with him. The madam tells them that it is time to eat. She's already feeling full. She knows that it was a bit scary with Richard staring at her while she was eating. She wonders why is he doing that, does he like the side of the blue birds or something? She looks at him and realizes that he is much better looking himself. He tells her that her stare feels like piercing through him. He mentions that her intense stares have sunken his cheekbones. She finds him a huge fraudster. He tells her that she'll have to take responsibility, as her stares might make him die from the pain. She is dumbfounded as she thinks that Madam's son is trying to devour her completely with no intention of sparing even her feathers. She indeed finds him a self-harm fraud. She goes and hides in Madam's shoulder. Khan tells her son that no matter how much he likes her, he should not bother her like this. She then asks the female lead to come here and asks her if the meal suits her taste. She also tells her that she must be tired so she can go back to her room and she can sleep well so they can meet tomorrow morning. Safina looks at Richard as she wonders why does not he leave too? Is it only her that needs to leave for bed? Right then, Madam calls out to reach her too, and refers to him as kiddo. She tells him that she trusts that he has enough manners to escort his bride-to-be. The madam asks him to take her to her room. While they are in the hallway, he tells her that he saw her using some strange power. He questions if all birds have such powers. She thinks probably it is a unique power of bluebirds. She knows that she might answer if he asks, but she doesn't want to seem too friendly. He tells her that he does not know what she is saying. She is aware that in the original story Richard dislikes people who were loose-lipped, so he probably wouldn't talk about her powers to others, but still, it would be better to keep it a secret as much as possible. He then tells her that she forgot this on her way as she ponders that he should disappear quickly and leave her alone because she does not want to be friends with him. Right then he covers her with a handkerchief that she realizes is not the new handkerchief that she just bought, and then thinks about her laundry basket. She realizes that she left it under the tree and Richard even took care of it. He asks her, does not she think that a thank you is appropriate? She ponders that she is thankful, but she is currently in the form of a bluebird, so how can she speak? And she cannot transform back into a human because she does not have clothes. He mentions that his wife to be so ungrateful and that her husband to be is disheartened who just repaid the kindness. He wishes for her to have a good dream. As he leaves, she thinks about his kindness and wonders if he is considering taking care of a simple laundry basket as kindness. She wonders if this is some sort of exaggerated package following self-hard fraud. She wonders what on earth is his problem. 3 years ago, a day during the fall season, he collapsed, exhausted because of losing so much blood in a nameless forest. A fearless bluebird nursed him back to health. And since that day, the energy of the bluebird began to flow from the pattern on his palm. This mark is a symbol of the Thanato contract, which is made by staking the second half of the beats. He cannot understand why the energy is flowing late into the mark and why this contract has been made. But since time is plentiful, he can gradually come to understand it and decides that he will stick together with her for the time being to repay that debt. The next morning, she wakes up and finds her laundry basket, realizing that Richard must have left it there. She ponders that he brought it over for her and thinks that he is surprisingly kind. She notices a letter and decides to check it. On the letter it is written that his arm would fall off from carrying this. If this is a damage claim, not. She finds it absurd and thinks that she has never seen such a note like that. And then the time passes again, and it is the wedding day. She's getting all ready as she finds it really beautiful. She knows that there's nothing to fall about this dress as she gave the maids a chance to ruin it. So why is it still in the perfect condition? She notices that even the shoes are intact, and that they even laid out the carpet kindly. Madame and Richard steps in as she wonders what is with this perfect jean. She tells the mother that she is looking very stylish today. The madam thanks her and tells her she's also looking really pretty. Richard asks her if that is a real flower on her hair. As she responds yes, it is a fresh flower and questions why did he ask. She asks him if he wants one and gives it to him. He tells her yes, his outfit will look better with this flower. They then decide to go as she tells yes. The groom and bride are entering. As she finds it surprising that she's really getting married, she wonders why she is feeling so nervous, as if her feathers would pop out. He then asked her to give him her hand. He extends his hand and tells her that he has to hold her hand. He asks her to hold his hand. She questions why as he tells her that he should escort her. She wonders if it was just a courtesy reminder. She holds his hand and ponders that it is warm. She knows that she was really nervous, but now that she's holding his warm hand, she's not trembling anymore, and holding hands with someone feels more reassuring than she thought. It is announced by Khan that today is a monumental day to celebrate the union of these two souls, and that they may cherish each other and their love without any disturbances. But if even a small noise is heard, then she will solemnly ask for forgiveness. The guest flinches in fear. The madam holds Safina and tells her that she should think that everyone is beneath her feet and that she is now a member of Chadwick family. Safina ponders that it seems like encouragement from mother. The madam slowly pushes Richard as he realizes it is his turn. He grabs her hand and puts a ring on her finger. Safina wonders that something feels different as she realizes that from now on she will be Spencer Chadwick. Everyone, toast for the newlyweds. She thinks that this wedding ceremony is so simple and wonders if it is really over after this reception just with a waltz and sending everyone home. She is drinking juice as she realizes that she learned that one should leave this amount of juice to be polite. She puts it as one maid takes it. She wonders is not that one of the maid that is assigned to her. She guesses she's also helping out with the wedding task. She thinks that the maid who had a grudge against her would not be doing something weird out of the blue, would she? The maid suddenly slips as Safina knows just as she had expected. The maid is staggering over here to ruin her trust. She's aware that she cannot let her come closer to her and decides to use her power a little bit so she won't notice it. The maid wonders why didn't move to the other side as the glasses fell, and she apologizes. The maid apologizes to her and asks her if she's sure none of the drink or glass fragments splashed on her. One of the maid decides to check for her. She thinks that the meat is being strangely polite today, and wonders maybe she should say everything's fine since everyone is watching, even though this is the very first person who tried to pour juice on her. She tells them that they are the ones who worked hard, not her, so she's fine as she gets down. The maid apologizes again before she notices something, thinking that there's something smudged on her hand. She realizes that she needs to take a closer look before the maid states that she will head back now. She wonders what could it be, as she thinks, where did one of the four maids who always stuck together go again? Richard looks at her as he realizes that she has been busy since earlier and wonders what is she doing. She continues to look for the maid, thinking that they're always together, so there is no way she is gone at a time like this. Richard notices the maid and tells her if she asks him for help, he might be able to. She wonders what he is talking about, and if he's talking to her, she ponders that she appreciates it. But nothing has happened yet, and even if something did happen, it is her business. She looks around and wonders why is this suddenly being brought up as she notices a snake. She realizes there was a snake. Everyone begins to talk about it as everyone wonders where did a snake suddenly come from. People question where the hell did our reptile come from on an important wedding day. It is coming towards her as it looks at her. She realizes that there is venom coming from its mouth. She tells herself that she should not be scared and that she can use her powers so she can escape any times. The snake hisses at her as she realizes she is feeling very scared. As snakes are natural enemies of words, she uses her power to push him away before she ends up picking the name. Richard is confused to see that. She realizes she has got the snake as Richard smiles, finding it fun. She knows that first she needs to prevent it from using its venom. The snake wishes for her to let her go, asking her to go do anything, and that he will behave and questions if she can ask that guy to lower his sword, referring to Richard. She wonders if the snake is communicating with its head. She thought this was a skill only high-level beings could do. He tells her that the smell from her shoes was so good, and he was just trying to get a taste of it. She did wonders, was it just targeting her shoes? He apologizes to her and tells her he did not know even how to humanize yet and questions if she's going to kill him. He is still 7 years old as they both look at it. She smiles as she tells he snake that she will let him go without any harm. The snake is really glad to know it as he did not know there are also kind people in this world. She looks at Richard as she ponders that the snake does not seem like an ordinary snake, so she does not think she should hand over this snake to him. She wonders why she looking over there. She notices that Mother is here. She goes to Mother. She then looks at the snake and wonders if he fainted. The mother tells her that she has got some hunting skills and that she will take the snake with her. People find it unbelievable that the bluebird caught the snake and things are not the snake's, the bluebird's natural enemy, and that she's just a little bird. But she turned out to be way braver than they thought. They think that she even reported it to the leader, and that she's extraordinary. She wonders that she's getting praised by the lions and it wasn't intentional. But it is a good sign for her marriage life here. But she wonders, where did that snake come from? And why did it charge at her shoe? Richard calls out to her and tells her there is no time to dwell on something like that, and that they should start their first dance. Extends his hand towards her as she realizes that is right, as it is their first chance after all, and she learned the waltz hurriedly because of the shortage of time. She seems pretty nervous as she wonders if she can do it well. He asks someone out. She holds his hand as she tells him, of course she will. They start the dance. As the music plays, she looks at him and wonders, are not they too close? He stares at her for a while before he leans over and tells her that she should hold his hand tightly. She blushes as they dance around. She thinks that she always messes up around this point. She ends up standing on him. She apologizes to him. She wonders if he will pretend his foot is broken like the last few times, thinking that he will make a new record if he keeps pretending to be hurt like this. He tells her no before she is shocked. He tells her that his bone will not break with this level of pressure. He tells her that she can step on it harder and he will not mind it. She wonders if he is really being considerate of her. He questions. Or maybe it would be better for him to just hold on to her. He asks if her ankle is okay, stating that he thinks her own ankle might hurt more since she stepped on him like that. She tells him that she will be careful. She ponders that she is actually feeling a bit nervous and thinks that he really catches on like a ghost. She knows this is the end to Act #1, and thinks if this is the Act #2, she sees that the music changes after the greeting. They dance together as she thanks him. He asks her if he can hold her hand a little tighter than before. He mentions that it looks like his partner is not quite cut out for dancing. She nervously smiles as he tells her that he will excuse himself and holds her hand tighter. She ponders that he seems strong and wonders if he will be able to be even stronger when he becomes an adult. He tells her it looks like she can't even concentrate at all before she tells him it is not like that, but he states that he does think it is the case. She refuses to agree to that. She then bows to him as she is glad the first time ended without any incident. She knows he took care of the laundry basket and brought it back to her and a while ago. He gives on helping her every time. She ponders it does not seem like Richard dislikes her, and in that case she wonders if they would be able to get along. Unlike the original story, the madam looks at them, realizing it ended without tragedy. Thinking now what should she do about the snake? As it is updated, she fought in the boundary area where there are a lot of snakes, so he cannot even transform into a huge room. She has been meaning to send him back after the wedding, but she should not have let her guard down just because he is a kid, as she never thought the fangs she pulled out would grow back just one day, thinking if he is even from a high ranking, from S leading family. She cannot stop but think about why he rushed at Safina. It would have been a terrible accident if he had bitten her. She knows those maids went too far this time, thinking if it was a waste to appoint this spirited young lions as Safina's maids. The madam thought that Safina could adapt quickly to the lion pack if the maid guide her to follow the lion's customs. She wonders if she was wrong about this as well, as it was quite impressive that she caught the snake herself. But still, she must have been quite scared and thinks that she should visit her tomorrow and soothe her. She notices that Safina is smiling, causing her to feel good. She smiles too and thinks that she has brought an amazing daughter-in-law. A man congratulates Richard on the marriage. Safina wonders why did this person only greet Richard.
She seems a bit annoyed as she wonders if he is underestimating her. She thinks that even as the eldest sister, she has been under her brother's wings for 13 years. She thanks him for the wishes. He calls out to Richard and tells him that this is grape wine made from grapes grown on his farm. She takes it and thanks him. She then gives him a small token of appreciation. These are cookies made with herbs. He states that he would like to receive what Richard chooses. Questioning why does this bluebird keep interfering? She thinks that he is nitpicking for no reason, wondering if this is how he's going to show respect to the new bride. She tells him that since she has chosen treats suitable for him, why doesn't he try one, as these purple treats are made with herbs good for the eyes. He questions her as she tells him because he could not see this little bird standing right beside the groom. That is why he must have congratulated only the groom for the wedding. She tells him that she's worried if his eyesight is not so good. He asked her what nonsense. She then gives it to him, telling him she will give him a few more cookies specially. She tells him to eat them all and recover well, and she hopes to see him well next time. People begin to question what is happening up front, questioning if this person is arguing with the new bride. They mention that the head of the family said not to cause a commotion, but yet he is reacting this way. The man then turns around and leaves while eating the cookies. She asks him to take care. She guesses it was a decent revenge. Richard stares at her. Safina notices that everyone has left. She wonders if this is over now. She looks around the mail. She thinks that the fact that a venomous snake charged at her today must be their doing. From spilling juice to cleaning her shoes, their actions seem too suspicious. She's aware that she should investigate those maids. She steps ahead as Richard follows her. She turns to ask him why is he following her. He mentions just because he's curious. He wonders if he's curious about what does this seem like a fun event to him. If she had been bitten by the snake, it would have been a fatal accident. She calls him an idiot in her mind. He confusingly stares at her. One of the maids sighs, stating that she did what she could. They know that they really messed this up. One of them questions, do they think she knew that snake was venomous since the start? She brought it here because it is just a kid. The other one states it is okay. She has already gotten rid of evidences. Besides, it is not like an adult snake who can even transform or can talk. One of them seems a bit scared. She questions should they not tell the truth and apologize. The other one is stunned, stating that they could really get in trouble if they do that, and that if they just keep their mouths shut, no one will know. Safina and Richard approaches them. One of the maid is shocked to see them coming towards them, and the other one states that they should pretend that they did not say anything. One of them mentions they forgot about clean duty in the annex, and decides that they should go clean it quickly then. As they all begin to leave, she wonders that they are already running away without saying a word. She asks them to wait. She tells them to stay right where they are and questions if they cannot hear her. She questions why are they so fast. She is so done as she yells at them to stop right there. One of them turns around and asks if she is talking to them. She asks them if they are running away from her. One of them tells her that they did not know she was looking for them. She thinks that is obviously an excuse, as they must have been trying to run away because they saw her coming to them. She tells them that she has a favor to ask them about the snake incident. She ponders that it is written all over their faces that they are the one behind it. And they are so scared already, even though she barely said a word about that incident. She mentions that she was so scared because of the snake. She just wants to have some cocoa before bed. They tell her all right, and they will prepare it for her. But then she questions, isn't it really strange that they are in the capital of the lion's territory? So where did the snakes really come from? She observes their expression, thinking, look at that now, their expressions clearly show that they are bothered by it. She notices something in one of the maid's pockets. She thinks it must be something important if she is carrying it around even while working. She knows that it is suspicious, it is just a hunch, but she feels like it is related to the snake incident. They tell her that they do not know about the snake and they have a lot of work to do, so they will leave. She realizes that they are running away again. But she thinks they probably do not know this, as she uses her magic to bring that thing towards her. She knows that they probably do not know this, that her power telekinesis is optimized for sneaky stuff. To steal it smoothly, looks like she has improved in controlling her power. She wonders what is inside this. She checks it and realizes it is like the powder that was on the maid's hands while she was cleaning her shoes. Richard tells her it is cypress tree bark powder. Snakes gets uncontrolledly attracted to it. She gets surprised by Richard's sudden interference. She ponders that he is too close. She thinks that because she was focused on the maids, she did not realize he was this close to her. She takes a step back, but her feet hurt. She becomes a little dizzy as she realizes that her foot keeps hurting since the dance and she's completely out of energy now. Richard helps her stand up. She wonders why does he keep coming close to her? She thanks him and tells him that she can get up now. She thinks if it is hurting because she stepped on Richard's foot. She finds it so embarrassing and realizes that she needs to stand up properly. He tells her to not force herself to get up. He mentions that she can lean on him as he gets down on his knees. She stares into his eyes as they both look at each other for a while. He tells her to get on his back. She is aware that her ankle hurts. He covers her with his coat. She thinks that he does not need to go this far and finds it embarrassing. He tells her that rather than lifted, if she prefers being held, that is fine too. She gets on his back as she thinks that he is really reliable. She thought he was a strange person when they first met. She is realizing they can actually get along pretty well. Maybe being friends is not such a bad idea. She then thinks of something, realizing that there's actually nothing wrong with being close to him. Since they are married anyway, they have to keep spending time together eventually. Laughing and enjoying each other's company, They can just continue getting along until the right time comes for a divorce when the female lead shows up. She decides to just give her best without worrying. She asks him if she is heavy. He tells her yes, she is very heavy. She wonders if she should just hate him, at least for once. But what if he gives her a headlock slam in return? He smiles as she finds his smile so beautiful. She did not know he could smile so beautifully like this. She then tells him to let's be friends as he stops right there. He asked her what did she say as she repeats let's be friends. He responds that he does not want to. She seems taken aback as she wonders what the hell, knowing that she mustered up the courage to say that. She thinks that it is embarrassing to be rejected so quickly. But come to think of it, she might have spoken too suddenly, which could be embarrassing. She questions if she can ask why he does not want to be friends with her. She thinks that although he is the male lead of this novel, but he is really aloof, wondering that maybe she was too hasty. She looks around and realizes that it is not the way to her room. She is confused by it as he tells her this will be her room from now on since couples are supposed to share the same room as a rule. She steps in and it's totally mesmerized. She wonders when did he prepare all this stuff? She sits on the bed as he brings first aid kit. He asks her if she does not want her injury treated. He puts ointment on it as she trembles because it hurts. She thinks that the lion's ability was physical enhancement. They have the ability to strengthen their body to its limit. She heard that using it excessively can cause a lot of injury. She wonders if this treatment is skillful because of that. He tells her that it is all done as she thanks him. She ponders that she owes Richard to so much. In the original story, Safina and Richard never had exchanged any favors. They had an indifferent relationship. She is aware that the real-life Sherd is kind, but also likes to tease her. His overall attitude is friendly. But why is he being so nice to her, whom he just met yesterday? Moreover, he has this strange aura, as if he knows everything. She thinks that he's a mysterious person. But then again, typical male leads in romance novels are walking encyclopedias. She does not understand him at all, she thinks. Anyway, he did a lot for her today, so she should thank him properly later. She smiles as he notices that. The maid appears and tells that she brought cocoa as ordered by the lady. Richard takes it. He gives it to her as she thanks him. She notices that there is something underneath. It is a note which says, "I'm really sorry." She wonders if this is from that maid. She drinks it as she thinks that she still needs to find out what that maid's exactly did. She wonders what should she do now, before Richard tells her he's going to wash up. She spills her cocoa before she looks at him. She wonders if he's going to wash up as she begins to blush a little. He steps in the washroom as she then finishes her cocoa. She thinks that he's saying that without much thought. Right, she puts the cup aside and begins to wonder even if he was the king in the original graded 19+. They are still young enough, and she saw him for the first time yesterday. And he also rejected her offer to be friends earlier. Still, that makes her feel a bit nervous. He steps out in his night suit. She thinks that he dressed like not what she expected. He asked, "So what is she doing?" as she stares at him as she sits up, before she gets off the bed and passes by him, telling him that she will too go and wash up and sleep because hygiene is important. She steps in the washroom. She wonders why hygiene is important and what nonsense was she even saying. She feels like she keeps saying strange things to right her. She wonders if they can even become friends at this point. She knows that since she's already in the washroom, she should wash up too. She is more uncomfortable once she takes off this dress. She wonders what should she do with this bandage on her foot. As she's in the bathtub, she thinks that it feels good in this warm water and looks like her fatigue is fading away. She knows that there's a lot of things that happened today. She thinks about all of them. Luckily, the wedding ceremony ended well without much trouble. As she decides that she should just go out now, all of a sudden she feels like her strength is draining. Realizing that it looks like her human form will end soon, she turns into a blue bird as she realizes she cannot fly since her wings caught up in the form. She tries to speak but is unable to. She knows that she cannot end her life drowning in a bathtub. She calls out for help. Richard from the outside asks her if everything is okay. Calls her. She wonders why is he asking about that in this situation. He asks her if there is something wrong. She continuously calls out to him. He steps in and takes her out. He tells her that she has to be careful while in the bathroom. He covers her inner towel and cleans her. She thinks it is such a difficult life. He didn't ask her. Why was she not in her human form? She does not know how to tell them. She ponders if she can say that she is having a hard time because she is not a child and that is why she lost human form. She thinks that she should rather keep it to herself as it is too embarrassing to even talk about it. After a while, she comes back to her human form. As she stands in front of the mirror, she's aware that she needs to be strong-minded so that her human form does not flip out arbitrarily. She finds the outfit that she is wearing cute. She thinks that she should quickly go to sleep now. Right then, she remembers something. She realizes that there is only one battle. She wonders why is she in her human form again. But then she knows that would be even weirder to transform back again now. She goes to him and looks at him from afar. She then sits on the bed. She thinks it's not that she cares. He closes the book that he was reading and asks her what is she doing. She tells him that she was preparing to sleep. He then questions what is she doing there? She tells him that sleeping together isn't that a bit too much for them. He asks her how is the case. He then goes to sleep as she thinks what if she told him that she read about him in a book and that what if that strange thing happens, like holding hands and all. She begins to then think about nonsense before she realizes she was thinking some really nonsense stuff and blurted it out aloud without realizing it. She stares at him as he smiles. He tells her that she's not thinking that a couple will have a child if they sleep while holding hands together. She is totally shocked as she questions what he does, sort of. That is the case. Then they will just go to sleep without holding hands. He tells her he will not hold her hands till they should sleep comfortably together on a comfortable bed. He repeats to her again that they won't hold hands, so they should just sleep together. He tries to make her feel comfortable, inviting her to come closer without any hesitation. As he watches her, he can't help but think that she still believes in the old myth that a stork brings babies, which he finds adorably innocent. Her naivety mixed in smile, thinking she looks so cute. While he was in a decent relationship with her, his mind was preoccupied with a contract he couldn't quite remember. It was something important, but right now, he feels that his priority is to reassure her, to make her feel safe and comfortable. So he brings one of his toys and places it between them on the bed, hoping this little gesture will be enough to make her feel at ease. She watches him put the toy between them and wonders if he's trying to create a border, a line that they shouldn't cross. Her heart races a bit, feeling nervous. She remembers being told in the original story that he was known as a 19-year-old sexy king, someone confident and full of charm. Yet here he is, doing something that only a 3-year-old would do. It makes her feel slightly relieved and amused at the same time. He then switches off the light, plunging the room into darkness. She thinks to herself that she can finally relax now. Maybe things won't be as overwhelming as she feared. She glances over at him and notices that he seems to be already asleep. His breathing is steady, and his face is calm. As she lies there, she starts to reflect on everything that has happened. The wedding is over, and with it, she has officially entered the Chadwick family. The realization hits her as she thinks of her new name, Safina Chadwick. It feels so real now that she's said it in her mind, and a mix of emotions washes over her eventually. Her nerves begin to settle, and she drifts off to sleep. She has a really good night's rest, more peaceful than she had expected, and wakes up feeling refreshed and ready to face her new life as Safina Chadwick. As she wakes up then she wonders when did she cover herself with blankets and notices that Richard is gone, thinking, where did he go? She finds that toy on the floor. She wonders if she did not kick it in her sleep. She then thinks maybe Richard ran away to avoid her sleeping habits, or maybe this might be better than running into each other in the morning. She tells herself that nothing happened, but it's still the first night as a couple anyway. She would have been embarrassed if she had met him right after she woke up. Tried. Then she's questioned if she's awake. She realizes it is her mother-in-law. As they are having tea together, she asks her if she slept well last night. She responds happily, yes she did. She notices her hand and asks her if she hurt her hand. Her mother-in-law tells her it is no big deal and thinks looking back at her condition nothing much happened last night. She ponders that it was a good thing to put eyes on those maids, thinking that there may be more people involved in this matter as they also found conclusive evidence that those maids caused the snake incident. She ponders that her daughter-in-law might be hurt as she finds out that someone is targeting her and thinks that she should tell her nicely. She then questions if she is not surprised by what happened yesterday. Safina questions if she is talking about the snake. She mentions that she is really fine about it. Her mother-in-law tells her that she should try to understand her first and states that it is all her fault. Safina wonders why is her mother blaming herself. She tells her mother-in-law it is nothing and she's really fine. The madam tells her that she is glad if she thinks like that. She then asks the madam, however, what exactly is that snake? The madam states he is a child from the head snake family, causing her to be totally shocked. The madam continues that it is said that the snake family is currently in turmoil due to internal strife. Looks like he was a child that ran away from chaos. She wonders if this means strife within the snake family and a child who ran away. The madam states that they are still investigating it, so they will find out more information soon. She asks the madam what is she going to do with the little child. The madam mentions that she will take him with her first. She then asks the madam if she knows what his name is. She ponders if he's the person that she's guessing. Then he's called Canis Black. In the original work, he is the female lead's assistant and a genius scientist. He's also the youngest child of the snake family. Whenever the female lead was in danger, he helped her with unique wisdom. It was an important supporting role. In particular, it is said that he was a genius in invention and created many revolutionary business items. She is aware if she partnered with this neck, would not she become rich quickly if she thinks it's not nice just to think about it, and realizes that she still needs money to survive if she divorced later and live alone. The madam wonders what is the interesting thing that her daughter-in-law is thinking of. She questions her why she asking the snake name. She responds that she's just asking. She knows she cannot tell madam about it yet. She questions that madam did she get any clues as how the snake appeared at the ceremony. The madam tells her it looks like she knows something. She tells the madam that actually she can guess the culprit. So question if she can try to solve it this time too. She found out who the criminals who tried to attack her with the snake were, and she has a way to find out. She thinks there will be significant benefits after that. She does not have any reason to miss this chance, of course, as if her mother gives her the permission. The madam tells her she can do it as she becomes the lad. The madam ponders this matter was not included in her calculations. There's no need to talk about the maid. The madam then gives her something, telling her this is from Oda. She's aware it is her favorite raspberry, thinking, could it be that the small cuts on mother's finger were because of this? She thanks the madam very much and questions if she was the one who picked this up one by one. And madam smiles and then stands up, stating that she's leaving. She leaves as she thinks it seems like she really picked it up by herself. She ponders that since she has received support from mother, she has a feeling that things will work out. Nick appears as she questions the snake. How is it? She ponders that it looks stuffy. She notices that the snake seems quite annoyed. She tells the nanny that since she got permission from her mother-in-law, she should please bring the little snake to the guest room. She wonders what they should do about this frustrating muzzle. It is too dagger-like. She is aware that there is no guarantee he won't bite her. He questions if she would do such a thing in the lion's den. He tells her that she calls herself a lion's daughter-in-law. She's aware it is a fair point. He mentions that he is only 7, so this is too harsh for him. Questioning if he just executed, will she let him off the hook? He tells her that he will swear on the honor of their family that he won't bite. And if she's really worried, she can use Tell's strange power from last time. He questions that was not her, was it? She wonders. Take a look around. Since telekinesis is not visible, he cannot be sure what power she used. She wants to keep her abilities a secret, so she will just brush it off vaguely. She tells him that she does not know what he's talking about, but she will release him from now. He tells her it feels like he is giving in, but since it is a secret, she should release him quickly. As she releases him, she introduces herself. He asks her why does it matter, stating that predators and prey, they should introduce themselves, shall they? She questions that he seems to want to rewrite this. He introduces himself as Canis Black. She tells him it is nice to meet him and questions if he can answer truthfully if she asks him something. He questions if she needs something from him. He tells her that his words come at quite a high price. Snakes are known for being quick-witted, after all. Moreover, the original Canis was not exactly easygoing, so he probably would not be eager to open up unless necessary. She questions really and tells him that she guesses there is no choice. He questions if that is it. He asks her what is going on, and that she should at least say something. He might be able to help her out. She never thought he would be curious, thinking let her give him a little hint for now. She tells Sam that, come to think of her, she probably does not need his help after all. She then shows him that thing that she took from the maid's pocket. She questions if he recognizes this. He sniffs and finds it a really lovely smell. She questions if this is the delicious scent he got from her foot yesterday. He tells us yes, it is his absolute favorite thing in the world. She could ask him if this powder is like catnip for snakes. She is not familiar with how cats react to it, so she cannot say for sure. He asks Surveyor did this come from, and that he will take it. She questions if he wants to. She's asking him, directly mentioning that his venom is totally lethal. She ponders this is getting a bit risky, thinking if she loosen up the muscle for no reason. She tells him that he will not buy it, right as he has even staked his family name on keeping quiet, but now he's about to spill the beans in one breath. He tells her, all right, as she becomes less worried because she thought she was in trouble. It mentions that since she's asking, he will tell her without lying, but in return, She should give him that powder. She ponders that he got her hooked, and they made the deal. As she gives him the prepayment, she tells him that she will decide whether to give him the rest based on his answer. She questions who helped him break into the wedding venue. That he does not know. She questions what he tells her. He just slept when he was locked in that big room. He eat 5 times a day. They only provided 3 meals here. Thanks to that, his stomach shrunk, but he is feeling better now. When he woke up, some shady characters attacked her. They were wearing masks, and they just got him back in the back, so he did not really get a good look at them. She ponders that it seems like they have been quite cunning in their actions. He tells her, but there is a way to find out. She questions what method as he tells her his voice and scent. He states it was definitely the scent of a female lion in her early 20s. From the way she spoke, it felt like she worked in the mansion. She ponders. Of course, with this, they can uncover the fact that the maids are the culprits. She then asks Sam if she brings before him but suspect who is presumed to be one of those maids. He can identify her, right? He tells her then, since he has told her everything, she will give him that in return, will not she? She decides to do that. She gives him a bit of it. He mentions that her words are different, and if she's trying to trick him. She tells him that his answers were not quite accurate. He asks her what does she mean, stating that he spilled everything, and now she is accusing him of being a thief. He tells her that she's totally unreasonable. She thought for sure it was a viper. Why does she feel like there's no need to be cautious around someone who is clearly venomous? Why does she keep restoring to feudal agio? Richard steps in the room as he notices the scent of reptiles. They both stare at each other for a while as the atmosphere becomes dark. She starts to wonder if Richard is angry because a snake was brought into the room they were sharing without telling him first. As she thinks about this, she suddenly feels a strange sensation on the back of her neck and realizes that the snake might be there. The snake then whispers to her, saying that life is no joke, and asks her to do something about the lion that's troubling them. She starts to think that Richard looks very angry right now, and she wonders if it's because the snake has invaded his space. The snake then questions if Richard is really that upset just because his territory was invaded. The snake even wonders if Richard might have a personality disorder, given how he's acting. The snake asks her why she isn't responding to him, and she finally snaps, telling the snake that if he doesn't start saying nice things, he should get off her back. She's clearly frustrated and angry now, and she wonders why the snake can't see that. But before she can say anything else, she notices that the snake has fallen asleep. At that moment, Richard says with a smirk that something funny has rolled in. He points out that it looks like she has become quite friendly with the little snake. She can't help but think that Richard seems to have calmed down a bit now. She explains that it was just a little conversation with the snake and tries to downplay the situation. Curious, she asks Richard where he went since he wasn't there in the morning. He thinks about it for a while. She looks at his cheeks. She wonders if she did not hit his cheek last night. Looks like she had a bit of a rough last night. She wonders if she hit someone in her sleep. He tells her he went for a morning walk. His cheeks are tingling because of someone. She realizes it is really her. She finds it really embarrassing. He questions if she's going to take responsibility then. She clenches her fist. She wonders how to be responsible and what is he even talking about. She questions if he is fine and tells him that he must be really surprised, right? He responds that he is not fine and he was really surprised. She then apologizes to him. She's aware it is so hard to be friends with male lead. He then asks her if she found anything from that snake. She wonders how did he know she collected information from the snake. She knows everything from where to where. She wonders if he's testing her or trying to help her. She states if possible, it would be better if they were willing to help. She wonders if she should ask them to stay with her while she interrogates the maids. She thinks it would be reassuring to have someone next to her. She decides that she will ask him again then. She tells him that she's planning to find the culprit who released this neck into the garden and asked him if he wants to go together with her. He looks at her for a while before he tells her all right, he way to go. She blushes as the snake wonders what is this atmosphere. She tells the snake that he should shut up. The snake mentions that they both already smell the same but are still embarrassed. She asks Sam what does he mean it smells the same as they did not use the same product. The snake tells her the scent is like a cool moon sprinkled on top, and it is coming from her too. And the smell got stronger after that lion brother came in. She asks the snake why does he keep talking nonsense. She tells him if he keeps saying weird things he won't give more of this product to him anymore. He tells her all right and finds her stingy. They didn't decide to go now. The snake gets on her as she questions if she is really going like this as he is a snake and she is a bird and she has told him so many times. Richard then grabs the snake. He tells her it is oak as he usually carry around baby snakes like this. The snake asks him if he would rather call him a baby snake. He responds, "Oak, snake kid," aware that he still has sudden pictures snake is in pain. That snake kid can follow along as he stays quiet. They then decide together. She mentions that she was carrying a laundry basket at the time, and she actually heard it all later when she put it out in front of the maids. She also took the basket he left behind. So she's trying to tell him this, but she also, under the tree so he can bring it to her room, ponders that she thinks this pretty much says it all. There's no reaction as expected. She's aware he knows something. He stares at her as she realizes his glare surprised her. She ponders that the eye contact was too sudden and wonders if there is something on her face. The snake tells her nothing was on her face, so she should run her head again. She wonders if the snake just read her inner thoughts, as well as he asking her to turn her head. Both of them can stare at each other. She realizes again the eyes are too close. She looks away and tells them they should move quickly. He stares at her. As they arrive, she wonders why is it so hard to get to her room. She called the maids on her way earlier, so they will be here soon. The snake asks her when will the accused to be culprits come. She tells him that she's not sure, mentioning might be in a few minutes. Arrive and question if they call her. They notice that the Lord is here too and greets him. One of them looks at the snake, realizing he's here. She becomes shocked. Safina smirks, finding it, glad that he could recognize it. She tells them that she is going to ask them some questions and they should please answer honestly. She picks up the powder and shows it to them, questioning if they happen to remember this powder. Their face expression soon turns very pale. None of them responds. The room is filled with a very dark aura. After a moment of silence, one of the maid apologizes, but she mentions that she does not know about it. She then states if she does not have any orders before Safina questions if she really does not know. Telling her that she is sure it belongs to her, the maid questions what does she mean by that? That the powder is theirs? She thinks so. This is how shameless they're going to be. She realizes that she has got no choice but to be stricter and harsher. She tells them that on her wedding day she spread this calypso bark powder on her shoes and that snakes cannot stay still because they love it so much. The three of the maids act dumb. They tell her that they really do not know about it. If they still think that she is a pushover, right? She then asks them if that is really the case. Then what is the conversation that they had? Richard then suddenly gets up. She wonders what is going on and why is he getting up. He steps towards them. He brings the laundry as she thinks he brought it to her because he thought it would be heavy for her. She is aware this is not the time for that. She asks them how hard were they swearing at her that they left this basket behind. She tells them that she told them it would ruin her first wedding dance and questions if she's wrong. One of them bites her lips. She tells that it is a misunderstanding and that she must have heard something wrong. They state that is right. They never did that. They ask Richard to believe that. She wonders if they are making excuses, not to her, but for someone stronger. Dimension, of course, she may have been hurt by what they say the other day, but they absolutely did not do anything like that. She asks the snake what does she think. He tells her that without a doubt, it is them. They are the voices of the beast men who put him in a black bag and took him to the garden. Mentioning that the wavelength is the same, they are shocked, questioning how could a male little snake have such abilities of sound waves. They also mentions that when he was in the bag someone said, "Don't worry, Jane." She thinks if it is Jane. She seemed to be the owner of the note she found under that cocoa cup. She questions if Jane is there right then. Jane falls on the ground and begins to cry. She apologizes. The other maid mentions it is a misunderstanding. They all begin to ask to believe them. They state that the cunning snake must have used some trick to learn Jane's name. They mention that she cannot trust the words of an unreliable person. She is being deceived, both the Lord and the lady. The snake tells them that they are so shameless. She mentions that this snake and they have been seen and hurt directly themselves, questioning if there is anything more certain than that they were the ones behind all of it. Ponders that hating her and trying to deceive her are two different things. She becomes to get really angry. She's aware that she has to make sure that the lions in this house do not look down on her again. She clenches her fist in anger. She ponders that she already got permission from her mother-in-law. She questions how long are they going to pretend they do not know when they have witnesses and evidence. The three of them remain silent for a while. They plead to her. One of them mentions that she should please believe them. Richard states it is annoying and not amusing as he stares at them. He takes out a fountain pen. He asks her to draw a slanted line in the air. That is the starting signal. She seems confused, but she decides to do it. She slanted a line in the air. She then is able to see the past where the maids were talking. One of them stated that they caught a baby snake in the border area and they can release it to the wedding as snakes are natural enemies of birds, so they should scare them. That woman is shocked, questioning how is this possible. Safina wonders what is with this fountain pen. She wonders how can one get such a vivid screen. He stands up and turns towards her. He tells her that he thinks she will take care of it well, so he will get going. She holds on to him, questioning why all of a sudden he tells her it would be better without him, and she can handle the rest well, right? She does not like it as she wonders what is he talking about. He then calls out to the baby snake. He tells him to bite them if they move. The snakes state that he has been itching to get new teeth lately. Richard steps out as the maids are scared. They tremble in fear. She realizes it went away and thinks it definitely helped her, right? She asks them if they are going to deny it again. She thinks that she should ask about this fountain pen later. The maid tells her she will accept any punishment, bitter as it may be, and tells her that she is truly sorry. They then look towards Shame. The other one state. She knows that. Before she stops, she then apologizes and mentions that she did not mean to do that. They tell her that they did not know he was a poisonous snake, and they did it as a light prank. They asked her to please forgive them. That they keep making selfish excuses and only think about themselves until the end. She stands up and steps towards them. She then looks down at them with anger. She tells them that all of them are fired.